Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What Exit Jersey Stories. I'm your host, Nick Franco, and with me, as always,
Pete Riario.
And with us today is our special guest. This is, like growing up, always had the comic guy. Who's my comic guy? And today is my comic guy. It is Tony DeMarco of A&S Comics in both Teaneck and North Bergen. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Oh, no problem. I know, I've been going to A&S for a while now, but how long has A&S been in Teaneck and North Bergen? Like, how long has that been now?
Well, we first started working out of my mom and dad's house where I lived. Probably like in 1977, we started that. And then in 1985, we moved to the business area in North Bergen, opened a legitimate store on Bergline Avenue. And then we opened up Teaneck in 1989, 4 years later.
Okay, so the one that you opened in '85 in North Bergen, that's the one that's there today on Bergen Line?
Yeah, well, we moved both stores. Both stores have since relocated.
Okay.
But yeah, they're in the same area, same main street. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're on. Our lease ran out after like 20. Well, actually, our landlord asked us to leave because he got a better offer for the rent. So luckily, we found another location not too far away.
He's gonna put like a Walgreens in there or CVS, right?
The guy next door offered to knock down the wall, make a bigger store, and rent it at double the rent. So we had no choice. I was surprised that after 26 years, you would think that we would be fine. But anyway, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because we're doing so much better at this new location.
Excellent.
Yeah, I love your location on Cedar Lane. You're right by. If people are familiar with Teaneck, on Cedar Lane, if you're going up the hill, you're before the cinemas. You're right by there's a CVS across the street.
Correct.
I think Victor's Pizza.
Chinese restaurant right next door to us.
Restaurant.
That's convenient.
You're not far from J&J Pharmacy.
No, no. But the best part is that CVS has been good to us. They offer they let people park in the lot, no problem. If on street parking is crowded, and there's also a public lot up the block from us, so it's a lot better. Better parking.
I love the fact that you have that public lot because I don't know how many times trying to park on Cedar Lane can be and
it's free. That's the best part of it.
Exactly.
It's free. You just got 2-hour limit, but still it's free.
And the nice thing is you could go get some comics at A&S, and then either get some pizza across the street or go up a couple of blocks and get some ice cream at Bischoff's.
Oh yeah, what's better than Bischoff's? And then to the right of us, you have KFC if you're a little lucky.
And across the street, you get IHOP too.
That's right. Yeah. So you won't go hungry, that's for sure.
That IHOP's been there for ages, hasn't it?
For ages, you're right.
Yeah.
It's one of the few businesses on the lane that's there longer than we are. Bishop's is longer. I know the pharmacy is longer, and that might be it.
Yeah, well, you know what? The theater has been there, but that went through renovations, though.
Yeah, so I guess that counts too. That was been there longer than us, so yeah. But anyway, it's been a good move for us. Both locations turned out better than we hoped. A little bit more rent, but it was definitely worth it.
How did the name come about, Tony? A&S.
My partner's name is Steven.
Oh.
And a long time ago, before the internet and stuff, phone book was the best way of getting noted. So and A was first in the alphabet. So instead of going S&A, we went A&S.
Very nice.
Smart.
So we were first on the phone book and listing of comic stores. I think at that time there may have been maybe 3 comic stores in the state. I don't know.
I was going to actually bring that up. How did you get into starting a comic store? Because that was like a comic retailer was at the time when you started was kind of a new thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we were. In retrospect, looking back at it, I think we were the first mail order, big mail order company too.
Oh wow.
Well, actually, it was Howard Dirk. What the heck was his name? Well, there were two big guys. One was Bob Crestall from Canada, and another Howard Rogowski. That's what his name was. He was from New York. And then all of a sudden we pop up. We decided to do it. We put the ads in the Marvel Comics.
Yep. No,
we had ads in buy sent for our catalog. Mm-hmm. And we started doing mail order. But the thing was, it wasn't our main job at the time. Steve's an accountant. I was a teacher, and it was just like part-time thing. And then it evolved. Well, let me go back to the beginning. When I was in college, Steve and I opened up the store at my mom's house. We used to buy our comics off this little store on New York Avenue in Union City, and the guy's name was Bill, and Bill was set to retire. And so Steve at the time was 16, I was 20. So we said, let's take over Bill's store. Bill was fine with it, but the landlord wouldn't rent to us. The landlord said, you guys are too young. Yeah, I got problems with the rent. That he's selling comic books. Who's gonna? So he said no. So we were a little disappointed. We went home back to my house. My father was there. I told my father what happened. So he said, hey, we have the sun porch. It's just loaded with junk. Why don't you two guys clean it out? Build some shelves. I'll help you. Build a counter. Put a sign out in the window on the outside. And put a little ad in the newspapers, he said. So we did that. And next thing you know, it was A&S Comics was born. And phone calls will come. We got a new different phone line coming in. And, obviously different from my house number. And we started getting phone calls. People actually saw the ad, the newspaper. A classified ad. That's all it was. Mm-hmm. People started bringing in comics to sell us.
Oh wow!
And so there was no such thing as distributing new books in those days. You did not sell new books. New books only went to newsstands. There was no major distributors other than at the time it was Hudson County News, and they weren't going to deliver comic books to a house. And we didn't buy any other magazines except comic books, so they weren't going to do that. So it was just a back issue market, and then that's all it was back issues. We would go around buying people's collections. People would bring them to us, so we would get leads, and we'd go. And then we started doing the conventions. Steve and I did the conventions even before we were in business together. 1969 was the first big New York convention. Phil Souling's convention in the Commodore Hotel in New York City.
Okay, yeah.
So
I remember that was later. What was that? The Pennsylvania, I think, was the later one.
That was later on, yeah. But 69 Commodore Hotel in New York City, right by Grand Central Station on 42nd Street. Huh. So it was Phil Souling's New York Comic Con, and we would do that it was 3 days a year. It was like a summer thing, and then all of a sudden, a couple other guys, I don't remember their names, but they started another company doing conventions called Creation. And that was in the early 70s. So we would do that. And then finally, as I said, Steve and I all decided, and at the time that had to be somewhere in the 70s when we first thought we did the store together, A&S Comics. So then, as I said, in 1985, what happened was my father's insurance agent came to the house. They came to the house to pick up the payments in those days. Those insurance agent went around, and he saw all the comics in the store. And he said, what are you guys doing? So I told him I was there because he says to my father, you might have a problem here. So what happened? So, well, you're not. If someone comes up the stairs, because it was a flight of stairs going to the house.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yep. So if someone comes up the stairs and they're not your friends or family or whatever to visit you, they came to buy comics, you're not covered if they fall.
Right.
And in the winter, those steps were treacherous.
Oh, I can imagine.
It was treacherous.
What, North Bergen?
Yes, North Bergen. Yeah, there was no T-Nex store yet.
Right.
So my father said, you guys are going to have to either get an insurance policy And he said, but I think the best thing you should do is go find a spot on Bergline Avenue where you have more notoriety. And he was right, because we were getting bigger and bigger. We had comic books all over my house. We had them behind the drapes in the living room, in the attic. The attic had boxes. The basement had boxes. There were piles of books along the stairs, the corner of the stairs, going up the stairs. And so before my dad said, you're getting to be pretty popular, because you should think about getting a legitimate spot. And so I was working. I was probably by like 7th or 8th year teaching, and my friend who knew somebody on Bergline Avenue, on the storefront, and so he introduced us to them, and we signed the lease. And so my wife and I went into in the stores. We were knocking down the shelves and building, pulling up the rugs and laying out painting and all this stuff. So, because Steve couldn't help me, Steve had like a full-time job at the time, and it was like a lot of time I had off from school. So my wife and I, we took care of it during the break. So next thing you know, we have A&S Comics on Bergline Avenue, in 1985.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then 4 years later, an opportunity. We moved to Richfield Park, my wife and I, and then Teaneck was not far away, and I saw this Cedar Lane, and I thought that'd be a great spot for another store. So Steve and I went on the same thing, found the spot, negotiated a lease, and then we opened up, 1989, we opened up Teaneck. But it wasn't all fun and games. We had 3 other locations that did not survive. We had a store in Bergenfield. We had another store in Union City, and we had a store in Hoboken. And
was that on Washington Avenue,
yeah,
Tony?
we were on Washington. We actually took over another store called the Literary Shop in Hoboken on 8th Street. And he opened up another store in the mall, and he couldn't do both stores. So we took over the Literary Shop, and it was great. And again, we probably still would have been there, but the landlord, after a couple of years, decided that it was a real estate agency, and he wanted more presence on Washington Avenue. So he evicted us. But we didn't give up. We went further down to 4th Street on Hoboken. There was a place there right next. Our landlord was Bahama Mamas, the bar.
Oh yeah.
And we opened up right next door to them, and that was very interesting.
I bet.
But anyway, we were there, and 2 years, and then the 3rd year, new lease, and the rent went up $1,000. So I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So we decided at the time, we just said, maybe now we could have, I don't know, but that time wasn't possible.
Right.
So we just narrowed it down to the 2 stores, and that's where we are now.
Excellent.
Have there been any thoughts about opening a 3rd store now?
Last year
it is a challenging time, but
last year we were right like the beginning of the year. We were talking about how much we would need to open another store. We looked at a couple of other places, areas, not places, but areas where we would like to go, and then the pandemic hit.
Yep.
So that kind of like put a lid on that for now. So what we did during the pandemic was that we just decided to put all our energy into fixing up our website and making our website more up to date and accurate. So we put all our back issues into our website, and we expanded that, got it actually up halfway decent, and that's what we did for that 10 weeks when we were off. We put our website together, and that seemed to be working.
Well, you did a little more than that too.
Yeah, it's true. We did deliveries.
Yep.
We did deliveries during the pandemic. We did curb service. We were actually in the store. I don't know if we should have been or not, but no one bothered us. So my son and I, Alex and I, and Ronnie were in the store, and we were doing fixing up the website and just making sure everything was good. And every once in a while, do a delivery or do a curbside delivery. People still wanted the back issues. There were no new products at that time,
Right.
but they wanted back issues. They wanted supplies. So we did our best to accommodate them, and we hung in there. There were some government assistance that helped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that time, though. It's like with everything going on during the pandemic, and then I remember, I think on your Facebook Messenger, I was talking with Alex, and I don't know if you guys had posted on Facebook or it's just through the Messenger about delivering back issues. Like, oh, so I just sent a little list. It's like, hey, do you have any of these? And you guys did the poll, and it's like, lo and behold, Alex was at my door with a whole bunch of Captain Americas.
Yeah, I mean, and you weren't the only one. There were a lot of other people. Got to actually, they got to look through our website, and there were things that they didn't even know that we had in the box. Because you've been to the store, there's like 120 long boxes, brown wood boxes that have God knows how many titles in them. It's impossible to look through all of them at one time. Mm-hmm. And so, but the people searched the website like a couple hours a night and found things they didn't even know we had. And it was good,
I got to ask you, Tony. You mentioned those wood long boxes. Is that a custom made thing, or is
yeah, yeah? We did that when we opened up North Bergen. A friend of mine and Steve's was a carpenter, and so we told him, so he built a bunch of boxes. Then when we opened up each store, he made more for us, And those boxes, they look, I don't know. In retrospect, going back, they're difficult. I wish I could have to get better things to put the books in, but those fiberglass boxes they have now, they're so expensive. I mean, and these boxes have withstood the time, so they are difficult to move around, and you do get a splinter from them every once in a while. But
they're durable, right?
Yeah, but I don't know.
People talk about it's not dangerous, dealing with comics, but you don't know about.
Yeah, and I tell the people, these boxes are heavy to slide in and out. I say, yeah, well,
they are.
You save money going to the gym. You get a workout at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's the age variance that you see of traffic that comes into your store? Is it all over the place? I mean, the range.
It's all over. It goes from young kids coming in, 7, 8 years old with their parents to buy Pokemon cards, to buy toys. Some parents, I can't tell you how many number of parents said, thank you for having these younger reader comics, the all ages comics.
Yeah.
Because their kids don't want to read books, and all of a sudden they're showing them Avengers, Spider-Man, Batman in the all ages category, and they enjoy it. So
yeah, I've heard the same from my friends, their nephews and nieces. It's the same way where they are introduced to those publications, and immediately, whereas opposed to me, might not want to pick up let's say a young adult book or something like that, but boy, they'll gravitate immediately toward that and enjoy it and love it, and then you go down the rabbit hole, from what I understand, then they want more. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me when I was a kid. I remember, but it wasn't really superheroes at the time. My father worked at a factory, and on lunch hour he would go to a luncheonette to have, to eat, and they had a newsstand, a spinning rack.
Oh yeah,
I remember those.
Yeah,
yep.
And he brought me home on a classic comic, The Red Badge of Courage.
Oh
wow!
Classic Illustrated. Yeah,
yep.
15 cents.
I had less of the Mohican.
All right, and then I got a kick out of it, and then. And every once in a while, he would bring me a comic a week. They were 10 cents in those days. Which I remember him bringing me a Three Stooges book and all these other, and it was all different kinds. But it wasn't superheroes. I didn't get my first superhero book till my friend Tom loved comics, and we didn't realize that. We were at the time. How old was I? 7 or 8. So was he. And all of a sudden, he brings this bag of comics out one day at his house, and there's Batman. So wow, I never heard of this guy. you know. And I loved it. Everybody, he let me read them, and I loved it, and that was it. And then all of a sudden, he showed me Archie comics. But again, it got me into reading. I loved reading. You know, I loved reading. Then I got into, besides comics, books, and, you know, everything. But
Well,
comics was my first big thing into reading.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I remember, like, actually as a kid, and I think you actually have one of these on the wall over in Teaneck, one of the Power records, where
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you read along with the comic, and you play the little 45 record,
Right.
and this was a great way for kids to learn to read.
Fantastic Four and Spider-Man were in the with the record. Yeah, we still have that. You're right. So anyway, that was my library. So that's what people have also said. That's a good way. They introduce their kids coming to the store. So our ages are young kids, but the majority of our customers are from, I would say, like teenagers. Yeah, like late teens, like 17, 18. They actually have a job, you know, a part-time job to afford this habit. And and people like
hobby, not habit.
yeah, a hobby, right? You're right. But some people come in and say, I can't stop. I want new stuff, you know. So
Oh yeah,
it's been good. It's good.
but when did the concept of like okay, when new issues, when you started getting new issues at the store, the concept of like, oh, you know what, I collect Batman, so when a new Batman comes in, can you put that in a bag for me? When did that concept come around?
I'm kind of trying to think. Like we held, even when we first opened up our North Bergen store, we called them subscription customers. People that
Right.
told us that when they came in, like sometimes we'd be sold out of a book, you know, and they say, "Oh, can you make sure I get this every month or whatever?" And yeah, that's when we started it. And then we decided, like, let's open it up to everybody. Let's just put it out of sign. We will pull it whole service. So it's probably like in the 80s we started doing that. When we first opened up the North Bergen store.
Now, I gotta say, now, like you said, you're one of the early Jersey comic stores.
I would think so.
But when did you start seeing other comic stores? I know you also, we've discussed this before. You started a direct lineage of other comic stores.
Well, at least
the one that I went to as a kid.
Well, yeah, you remember Frank, right?
Yep, from
Frank
Collecting Comics in the Bergen Mall in Paramus.
Yeah, he drove by. Actually, was still at my house at the time. He drove by the North Bergen house and he saw the sign, and I don't know if he was delivering something, so he stopped in and he bought some back issues, and we became a little friendly at the time, and then eventually I think he told me he was going to open up his store in Palisade Park. I think he opened up a store there. And eventually, after about a year or so after he started buying books from us, and then John Manty, I don't know how he found us, but John Manty came to the house, and he bought books, and then later on he opened up his store.
That's Paradox, right?
Paradox, right?
Yep, over in North Arlington.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of crazy that, like, when I started collecting comics and realized there were a thing called comic stores, the first one I went to was Collector's Comics at the Bergen Mall.
Yeah. My he was in the basement, right? Remember, he was in the basement at first, and then he moved upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so great. Yeah, but my friends and I, we used to just like drive our bicycles right over there, or just walk over to the Bergen Mall and hit Collector's Comics.
Mm-hmm.
And then later in life, I used to work in Lyndhurst, and I heard that there was a comic store over in North Arlington. So it's like, oh, I went over there, and lo and behold, that was John's store, Paradox.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
What's your earliest memory of discovering comics and having an interest in in collecting them and just absorbing them?
Well, not really. My father's friend. Remember telling us that story how the guy in Union City had the little bookstore. So he was a friend of my father's. So my father, like not every Saturday, but a couple times a month, he'd take me there, and Bill had comics all over the place, and not only comic books, but paperbacks, all different kinds of paperbacks, not related to comics, but just paperbacks and hardcovers and all this stuff. But he had a big section for comic books. They were $3 for a dime. Now,
Wow.
Wow. And see, my
comic
earliest
books,
memory is 25 cents for my comic books.
comic books at the time with new books on the newsstands were 10 cents, but
Mhm.
these were all used and to all different conditions. But Bill didn't care. Whatever the condition was three for a dime, and that's my earliest. I remember going there finding. This is after my friend introduced me to the Batman comics. I'll go there, find Batman and Superman. There was no Marvel yet.
Right.
There were no Marvel comics yet back in like the early 60s, like 60, 61.
Yeah.
There were those EC comics. I've been the horror comics. Oh,
Yep, that's what I was into. Yep.
Yep. And crime comic books.
Mhm. Yeah, true crime.
True crime, Crime Syndicate, all these different crime comics, and that's what that I remember, like reading those things, and I was really taken by a lot of the stories, the art, and they were great. They were just great stories in those days, And then all of a sudden, when I learned about Batman, I became like, this is the character. I like this guy. I want to try and get as many as I can. And that's when every other day, running up to my father or my sister would take me to Bill's, see if anything new came in,
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I was able to go up there by myself when I was 12, 13, able to go up there by myself. And then I learned, another friend introduced me to Spider-Man. First time I ever saw a Spider-Man comic was probably like in '63 or something like that, '64. I had to go back in time to search for the old ones in different places because, I'm introduced to Spider-Man like in the numbers. If I remember correctly, it was the one with the Scorpion, number 20. That was like my first Spider-Man comic. Yeah. So it was.
Do you still own any of the comics that you, that you purchased when you were a child or a teenager?
Well, here's the situation. I was one of those guys that you ever hear people say I'm going to collect my comics and then someday I'll send my son to college. Well, that's exactly what I did. I had a full run of Marvel. I had a full run of Marvel comics.
Oh wow!
Everything. I had a full run. Had a full run of Batman. I had Detective 27.
Oh my god!
Wow!
Yeah, I had. And what I have right now doesn't. What I had doesn't even compare to what my partner still has. So I had a complete Batman. Detective Comics I had probably, I was missing about maybe 30 issues from 27 up to complete the run. And
incredible.
And I got a back about 10 years ago. We put them up for auction, and that's what I used to pay my son's college bill.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I don't have anything right now. I don't keep anything now. I don't have anything.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, and after a while, and I got when I sold them in those days, condition didn't mean anything. So a lot of the books that I had were, just today would probably be like 4s to 6, but everything like probably after 76 was probably newsstand. So they were like I had the first Wolverine. All newsstand comics,
181.
Yeah, all that stuff. A lot of the other stuff was old, like especially the Batmans and detectives. They were old, but my detective was a 4.5. Apparent though, it was apparent. It was a great. It was. I'll never forget. We were in Boston, a Boston convention, in 1976. Maybe 70. Maybe 77 maybe, because I was just working, and this guy. Had half price on his table, and he had Detective 27 for $1,000. So
what?
Yeah, $1,000. So I didn't have the money at the army at the time, but my friend Don did. So Don lent me $1,000, and I bought it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and then I knew it was restored, but then maybe about I'd say maybe about 15 years ago, I got it graded when grading first started, and we knew it was restored, but it came back as an apparent 4.5, and that was pretty good for that book. I don't know, God knows where it is now.
Yeah,
but we sold it.
Detective 27. That's
Yeah,
a lot of money.
It's hard to get it. Number one, and to get in any decent condition. So
I don't even know if I will. Getting the pre-Batman books never interest me. I was the first Batman, you know. So
I think Newbury Comics is still there, right? On in Boston, or I don't know if you know
yes,
Newbury Comics.
yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
yeah,
I've heard of it. But
they're kind of like the one of the more well-known comic book shops in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't go around. It was actually the comic convention that we went to. It was we just didn't really tour the city too much at that time.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot to see in Boston. Yeah.
But I got to ask you, like, when more of the comic shops opened, like, what was it like? Did you guys have like sort of like what was gonna say like a group? Like, did you guys talk to each other? It's like, hey, do you have this back issue, and I'll trade you, or anything like that?
No, it didn't seem to work that way. When I don't know, when we opened up T-Neck, there was this little comic shop in town, but he didn't last too long. He didn't last too long after we opened up. But then later on, another store opened, like a half a block away from us.
Oh wow!
It was called I don't remember the name of it, but it went through 3 different owners. But for whatever reason, we really never became friendly. They would send people into my store and get prices, and then compete prices with us. The next thing you know, their prices were cheaper than ours. And it used to bother the guy that worked for me, but I told him, look, it's the way it goes. We, when they sell out, we'll sell out and make a little bit more money. We weren't gouging, but it was just like, he was taking a lower hit on the profit margin than he should have had. But now I think it's different. We do like communicate with other stores and trade back and forth if somebody needs something,
Okay, so that's more modern. That the whole trading with the other stores.
Yeah, and there's also a network that we belong to, online that Alex basically handles, where store owners put up things they're looking for, or put up if they have an overstock.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll help each other, like sell at cost to each other to try and promote and help each other's business. But
because I was going to say you guys basically see a lot of each other too, like at say
shows,
the comic shows that like Clifton and Wayne and that.
Yeah, thank God I don't do the shows. I just can't do it. Alex does it, and he seems to enjoy it too. But it's just too much for me now. I mean, in the old days, we did all of them. We did New York, all the New York shows. We did maybe Florida. We went to San Diego with the early San Diego shows.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah, my partner Steve and I, we went to the shows, and I'm gonna say like before my kids were born, so probably like the late 70s, early 80s. In fact, one of the shows I had at my table, now again, you're flying cross country, so you can't we didn't take a lot of books. So we took a suitcase filled with our best books. So we had them on a table. We were buying and selling. We had a big sign in the background, buying comics. So this guy sells me an Amazing Fantasy 15. Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. So I have it on the table. Half hour later, the editor of Marvel Comics, who I didn't know at the time, Ralph Macchio, comes by.
Not that.
Yeah, not
the actor, the editor. And he's looking, and he's I need this. I actually sold him his. I don't know if he still has it, but we sold him his Amazing Fantasy 15.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then another time, I'm looking at in San Diego. I'm looking at this guy's box. He has Detective Comics, and I had the pretty big run in those days. Standing next to me is another guy looking through the Detective Comics. Turns out it's Billy Mummy.
Oh God!
From Lost in Space and Twilight Zone. So we were comparing notes on Detective Comics, what we had, what we didn't have, and it was pretty cool. And at the time I had a better collection than he did, but but it was just pretty cool to meet him and talk to him about it. That he was a comic book fan too, and I guess it makes sense. I mean, Twilight Zone, Lost in Space,
Oh
Right.
yeah, the whole sci-fi
Yeah.
blended in with the whole
Yeah.
comic genre. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
I remember like early on, like you would have like the movie not reenactments, but like the movie version of the comic, like or the comic version of the movie. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you would have things like, of course, like in 77, 78, you got Star Wars, but you had things like Logan's Run. There was an actual. I remember Kirby did a 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
These sci-fi things that were like.
Yeah, but in those days you didn't have that. You had the gold key books with like they had a Lost in Space.
Yeah.
They had Twilight Zone. They had all the TV shows. But yeah, so that's what you had for the sci-fi. But he was I don't know if you remember his appearances on Twilight Zone. He was Anthony.
Yep,
I remember that.
Yep.
Push you into the cornfield. Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm huge Twilight Zone fans.
So from one company to another.
Yeah. Sure.
Did you see an increase in foot traffic or online sales after all the Marvel movies? I mean, with the popularity of the
Yes,
Marvel movies?
Absolutely. That was a, unlike the Batman movies, like in 89 with Nicholson and
Yep.
whatever that, those
Michael Keaton.
increased. Right. Those increased foot traffic, but it didn't sustain. It wasn't sustainable. It just was good for a couple of months, and then it died down again. But with the Marvel movies, I guess being on Netflix and they're
Yes.
pumping out a movie every couple of weeks. It's since the pandemic, it's been crazy. Yeah, right during the beginning of the right like at the end of the pandemic. I guess people saw more things on TV and nothing else to do.
Right.
Watching TV.
Great. Mm-hmm.
And after that pandemic, people just came out. They wanted, where's your Daredevils? You have your Electra comics? How about like Iron Fist? Man, we never sold Iron Fist comics. Iron Fist comics and what else? Defenders.
Yep.
You look at my boxes now, you're not gonna find many back issues on those books.
Right. And of course, the Defenders, the old Defenders comics were much different than the Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's been, the hobby's improved. I'm glad to see that. I hope, there are new stores starting to pop up around every now and then, you're getting new stores popping up, but it's good for the hobby, I guess. Bring more people in.
It must have been an interesting transition too. I mean, in the early days, like you said, where people would look you up in the phone book, or you'd advertise maybe in a newspaper, like a local newspaper for your store. And now, with the internet, it just changed the whole game plan, right? In a sense, I mean, now, with social media and all that, now you've had to adapt as you've grown older and with technology.
Thank God for my son. Thank God for my son, Alex. He's 30 years old, but he started working with me maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, right out almost out of high school. So that'd be more than that, right? But I guess he went a couple of years before work, right after high school. So around 20 when he started working in the stores. And it's funny, I have two boys, Matthew, and Matthew's the comic guy. Matthew loves comics, but Alex didn't even care for comics. Sports was his thing. Mm-hmm. But then, I guess right out of high school, he really didn't want to go to college, and he didn't know what to do. I said, "Well, come on, give this a shot, see if you like it." And he loves it. Selling, and he's also a reader now too. He'll read all the comics that come out, and he loves them. But he's been. You're right though. With the technology, he was invaluable in the store as far as technology goes.
I'm sure. With
the Facebook and Instagram, and before that, it was what was it? Tweetings.
Twitter, right?
Twitter, and he would be all over that stuff, And in my day, it was a big thing was putting a coupon in Valpak.
Oh yeah, the coupon, the Valpak, mailers, right?
Yeah. And we would do and all different kinds of like advertising, like placemats and Burger King, put our ad there. But yeah, but now it's like you don't even think about that anymore.
Sure.
Although we are thinking about Foul Pack again because we want to buy comics, so we're trying to get our word out there that people actually come in.
That's
People
not a
actually
bad
coming
idea.
in saying, we know you sell comics. Do you buy them? Yeah, yeah. So we're thinking about doing that shortly. Put another ad and see if that generates anything.
I know ANS also for your like repeat customers and that you also have a rewards program. I know I'm part of it, but what is that like?
Yeah. Well, when we put our first, well, we have a credit when we put our credit cards in like Nuke system, maybe about 5 years ago. The guy who put it in for us was a friend of mine, and he said, you should do something with the rewards. All these big stores have rewards. Why don't you do something? So we came up with it, and what it is you get like what looks like a credit card, and then for every dollar you spend before tax, you get a point, and then every time you buy something, we swipe the card, the points get added, and when you get to 100 points, you get $10. So you can use it any way you want. We just hope that it would bring people continuously back to our store. I mean, there's a lot of competition,
right?
So we hope that people would, say, well, if I can go there, I can buy the book, but I don't get anything. But if you come to ANS Comics, eventually you could save up your points and buy something really nice.
Right.
So and we also do a VIP program. I think you're in that too, Nick, where you get it's through a mobile system. You come in, you text AS Comics to the number, and now you're in our mobile club, and that's special offers for people only in that club. So we're looking for different ways to entice people just to keep coming to us, but so we're trying to keep things fresh and we had another system before that called the Belly system. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that one.
The Belly card. Yeah,
that was like it wasn't just you; it was like other things, but yeah, it just didn't. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was the new one. That was before we did our rewards, and it worked. But the other thing is, we told the people what they could get. You build up a certain number of points, you get a free comic box. Build up those certain points, you could get a free package of comic storage bags or something. Right. But then we got the $10 thing where people could actually save it, and it seems to be and use it for other things that they want besides not what we tell them to.
You want a good wall comic or something like that? It's like after a bunch of points, hey, now I can get that
right. Yeah.
Like older wall book.
But we got people to do that. They actually save their money, their points. I call them points, but it's actually dollars. And they buy books like when we have our big Black Friday sale. They use that. One guy got a Wonder Woman statue from us a couple of years ago and wound up paying $20 for it. It was over a $200 statue.
Wow.
Yeah. So, we encourage people to come and build up the points. It's great. I mean, it's hard. It's for us to give it away $200. People, my friends say, "Isn't that a lot of money to give away?" Yeah, but when you think that for him to get that, he had to spend $100 to get 10. So think of how much money he spent in my store as opposed to going other places.
Very
true.
Very true.
Will you have a presence this year at the New York Comic Con?
No, we never do. It's the horror shows that I hear from people, other dealers going over there.
The modern New York Comic Con is not necessarily for comic dealers.
Yeah, I can't.
I see.
Yeah, that's just too big for us.
I got you. Better to be at the smaller shows.
Yeah, and we did East Coast. That was good, but and that was just a little taste of what New York Comic Con was, and I know I couldn't deal with that. And the other days we used to do conventions, we would just drive up to the front of the hotel, unload. We'd have our own hand trucks, bring it up to the ballroom or whatever. Now then, all of a sudden, I forgot one day we get to the Roosevelt Hotel, unload, start putting those stuff onto they come out and says, we'll take that now. So what do you mean? Yeah, you can't bring it up on your own. You got to pay the stewards to take it up. Really? Yeah, you can't because you're taking, that's their job, and you're taking away their job. So then you had to pay like for every cart. At the time, it was every cart that you had to pay for that to bring up to the ballroom. And then another time when we wanted to plug a light into the wall, you had to wait for the electrician to come. And that was $45. That was $45 to plug the wall into the
For a light.
light. So and then like after that, parking your car wasn't bad. Now, from what I've heard, it's hundreds of dollars to park your truck or something like that. Yeah. This one guy at one of the shows was telling me 2 years ago at the New York Con, you had to go into the Javits Center and you went up a ramp and you had to wait your turn to unload your stuff and put it onto their rack so they could carry the rack. The stewards to carry the rack, and it's so much for people carrying unloading all these different things. And he said he got shut out. He's on the ramp, but they told him, all right, we're closed for the day. You have to come back tomorrow.
What?
And he said, now what do? You got a truck loaded with stuff, and then
now you got to go back. And
you either go back home or find a parking lot that you could overnight.
Yeah, and do you want to keep your comics in a parking lot or overnight? That's
right.
So I just can't do that. And then the boots are so expensive. The boots are like thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And I guess the guys are. I mean, this guy, he told me no matter how much costly it was, it made money for him. It was worth it for him, to do it. But I don't have that. You see what we have, Nick. I don't have those, all those key comics and key books. That would make the money I would make selling the ones I have would probably make me break even at the show.
Right.
Not worth it.
No. But we would walk around. Like I would walk around. We would try and buy something here and there, and even Baltimore. I went to Baltimore a couple of years in a row and walk around there and just try and pick up stuff in the store. That was fun. But no, I can't do it. I can't do the big shows.
Yeah. When these comic book dealers are flying with their comics, I mean, they're not checking that stuff in, are they? Because, I mean, if you had Action Comics Superman, I'd be really nervous.
I know.
Yeah. I'm thinking, how are they transporting them? Are they like, I'd have it in my carry-on personally, because imagine the airline loses your luggage and you're like,
oh yeah, right.
You'd hope you're insured, right?
I was going to say, for keys like that, I would think you would have like a suitcase handcuffed to your wrist,
exactly
like that for some of those real keys,
Mm-hmm.
But there are people. There's a guy up here that does the shows, and he goes all over. Anthony, right? Nick?
Oh yeah, Anthony's comic art.
Yeah, he drives all over the country. He has his own van. He hires people to drive the van. Like he goes all over.
That's how I do it.
It's amazing how that's become the big thing too. The original art from the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, because years ago you could get that thing pretty cheap. Actually, you're talking about original pages from the comic, the original like large versions of it that the artist did that turned into the comic.
Right.
You can get much cheaper. Now, like I remember seeing Anthony like a few years ago at I think it was at East Coast, and I saw a page from X-Men 4 on like on his stand there, and I like looked closer. It's like, what's the price on that? I'm like, okay, yeah, I could get that page, or I could put a real nice down payment on a house.
Yeah.
That was like a couple $100,000.
Oh wow.
For that one page from X-Men 4.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure if dealers are doing those shows that you got to factor in some kind of insurance to protect your books and merchandise.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Got to think of the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what do you see for the future of comics and for the future of ANS? Like Tony, like do you see possibly like what Pete asked before? Do you see possibly in some time opening another location? Do you going more into like the online stuff? Like what do you see for the future of ANS?
I really don't know. We're debating about what, because I mean, I'm 68. Steve is 66, 64. Do we really want to get involved with opening a new store and starting a? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but Alex might. So that's going to be like Alex's call, I think. If he wants to expand and and he might have to stay alive because I mean, people are opening stores all over. I mean, you get someone that, as you know, someone just moved into Teaneck also, and that could knock you out of the box. I don't know. It's a scary thing. You could lose your business or. So my thing right now is just focus on what we're doing. Try and do it better, and every day try and do something better or try something different, and focus on what we have, and maybe build up the online. But as far as opening a new store, maybe that's a maybe.
Okay.
And the way the comic industry is going now, who knows? I mean, with Diamond losing Marvel and DC,
Yeah, for the distribution,
and who knows? I mean, who knows? There's a lot of stories about DC folding and selling their characters out to other companies. I don't know. I don't know what to make for what's going to happen. But what I can only focus on my store. So we'll try and make the stores as desirable to people as we can. So they think about coming to us first. We try and keep our prices as low as possible. We try to offer everything that we could think of that customers will want, and I think we give decent service. From what people tell me, I don't even bother looking at them, but people tell us that our reviews are good. So and it's strange how some stores like our stores, Teaneck, it's kind of like mostly comics. I mean, we do all the other stuff, toys and cards, but it's mostly comics. But in North Bergen, comics are a small part of the business.
Okay.
Yeah, in North Bergen, it's the manga stuff.
Yeah.
Toys, very much toys, manga toys, the imports and shirts, a lot of shirts. North Bergen, it just seems like comics are secondary there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because it wasn't like that years ago. Comics were the main thing.
Right.
Yeah,
but I was going to say, definitely the merchandise around comics has definitely grown since the older days. Like, there's definitely a lot more of that. Like, like you can get Doctor Strange mugs. Thank you again for pointing that one out for me.
Yeah, but you know what, Nick? It's not even at the Marvel and DC comics in North Bergen. They don't sell that well. It's the manga stuff, the manga comics, the manga books, the Naruto and One Piece, and those books. I can't get enough of them, and it's hard finding distributors for them too. So yeah. But Marvel and DC, okay, they do sell, but we double them in Teaneck what we do in North Bergen, but they kill us. The North Bergen, they tremendous amount of manga and stuff.
Yeah, and I know those series on Netflix they're huge. How do you pronounce it? It's Naruto,
I think it's called.
Naruto, yeah.
And Naruto, and what's the other one?
There's Avatar, but did they make comics of that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they did.
All those.
Yeah, and then there's also Dragon Slayer. That's another big manga title. And yeah, it's a whole new market.
Right.
And for whatever reason, people, the toys that go with them are amazing. People love the toys that come for that. Street Fighter and all those things too. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's different. I mean, you're only 20 miles away, and it's the difference in merchandise what you have to have, to survive.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. But I'm glad Teaneck is the if you want to say the tried and true comic store.
The flagship.
Yeah, that's what we call it. Yeah, that's where we do all our orders from. We do all our mail orders. Our mail order business is pretty good from there too. Our back issues, and then even the new books we take orders on new books. So,
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, Pete, I think. Oh, actually, before we wind up, Tony, if people want to get in touch with A&S Comics, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
Probably our ascomics@aol.com. That's our email. And then there's ascomics.com, our website. And that's probably We're on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, and what's the other one? Alex does Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
Instagram.
Those
Yeah.
to good, like especially like if you have a lot of photo stuff.
Yeah.
Because like Alex, you guys had come into that Spidey collection not long ago, and also the Star Wars collection.
Right.
And he posted things on Facebook and I believe Instagram.
Yeah, and one thing that bothers me in my T-Next store is that we've outgrown the store already. The store is like it's just overloaded. Like yesterday it was Wednesday, guy came in with 6 suitcases of comics.
Oh,
so
smokes!
6 suitcases, and we made a deal. We bought the books, but for like a day or two, they were laying in front of the store. In the beginning, what are we gonna do? I have nowhere to put them, until we could go through them. But you know what? Some people came in. Can I look? Go ahead, knock yourself out. We let the people look. Oh, can I take this one? It's not priced yet, but we'll take it and price it for you. And it's like you got like 3 people sitting around in chairs around going through suitcases of comics. It was pretty funny.
Wow.
And other people say, "What store would ever let you do that?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good idea or not either." But they had fun. They had fun. We actually sold some comics. So whatever works, right? Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever makes people feel comfortable.
Exactly. And that's the thing I think about ANS Comics. It's like it's your neighborhood store. It's family. We always have
a bowl of candy for the kids to come in.
Yep.
Bowl every we hardly ever run out. I always every Monday go to Costco, buy a bag of candy.
You might have to double up for Halloween though.
Oh, double up.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what Halloween is a zoo by us.
I bet.
Even though it was the pandemic, we still give away a couple of thousand pieces of candy, and we give away comics. Wow. They make comics for that day.
Good.
Yeah, because Free Comic Book Day has a Halloween edition. I know.
Yeah, well, they had that, but they're also making comics. I got so many comics left over from Free Comic Book Day. I don't know if I'm going to order a Halloween comics. I just may give away like the rest of the. But anyway, it seems like most of the kids want candy anyway. They come
sure, who doesn't want candy? Even adults.
Yeah. But we have a bowl of candy around all the time for people. So it's like, I notice a lot of stores people don't do that.
Yeah, and you know what? It's the good stuff, Pete. It's not your
it's not like
yeah,
it's
like Pez or something. No, not kidding.
It's like
I love
100
Pez.
grand bars and
yes.
And
you're right. It's Kit Kats. It's Reese's peanut butter cups. And
you're speaking my language now.
Not the little ones, the big ones, But it's just our way of saying thank you to people,
That's great for
coming in.
No, thank you, Tony.
Good incentive,
Yeah, a lot of people say,
keep them around longer.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a few dollars every 2 weeks. So
it's worth it.
If people keep coming in and people are happy to bring their kids in and they see that we're giving them something besides taking their money, we're giving them something. I just think it makes everybody feel good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Agree there.
Now, Pete, you have a little game for us to play?
Yeah, this is a short game. It's only 6, if you want to call them questions per se. You are going to determine whether or not the following comic book stores actually exist in the United States, and in fact, a few of these may actually be in New Jersey.
Really?
So, yeah, and maybe you already know some of these comic book stores in New Jersey. So these are amusing kind of names, and there's 6 of them. So let's start right off the bat here. So we got Fat Moose Comics.
Yeah, I've heard of him, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
This is going to be a short game. He's going to ace every single one of these.
I don't know about that.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah. I think I have actually heard of Fat Moose.
Yeah.
And both of you would be correct. That's in Whippany, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
All right. Here's number 2. A Little Shop of Comics.
Yes, I've heard of that one too. Yeah. Yeah, he's down like a Somerset area or something like that.
You got the first initial, right?
Where is it, Pete?
It's in Scotch Plains, New Jersey.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I heard it, but actually Alex went down there and visited. I actually met him in Hoboken, when there was a guy in Hoboken that had a store that closed out, and they were having an auction, and
Okay.
he was there, and became friendly with him. And Alex went down there, saw his store. Alex said it's a beautiful store. Yeah.
Oh,
Great
nice.
name too.
Yeah.
That's catchy. This one, I guarantee you both may or may not know, but I'm guessing may. The Joker's Child.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, legendary, right? Even I know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's still there too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still there in Fair Lawn, and
Yep.
yeah, that's where I unfortunately had to sell a bunch of my old comics years ago.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Thanks for not thinking of A&S Comics.
I love bringing up painful subjects like that
Yeah.
to Nick, you know?
Yeah.
All of Nick's X-Men comics, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Was that part of it, Nick?
Well, like X-Men 1 and Giant Size.
Yeah.
1, yeah, like a couple of the.
Yeah.
like,
We couldn't have used those at the time, Nick. Yeah. That's
So
okay.
don't feel so bad.
Yeah. I'm sure he needed it more than we did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Here's another
Thanks,
one. The Fortress of Solitude.
Oh yeah, he's in Newark, I think.
Very good. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just
I was going to say we're not going to get any by Tony.
no, and I
No,
knew
no.
that, but I had to keep it Jersey centric. You know what I mean? So that's why. Okay. How
He used
about
to be on Broad Street. Now he moved. I think he moved it to one of the side streets.
Oh, wow.
Because of rent. Yeah, I used to when I going to the Devil games. I drove by his store a couple of times. I always meant to go in there, but I never did.
Huh. I wonder if he has any Superman comics in there.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah. All right. How about Heroes Aren't Hard to Find?
Yeah, I've heard of them too.
Gosh dang.
Yeah.
You are a good man.
I forgot where they are though. But Heroes, they're out of
Now-
state, aren't they? Are they in state? I think they're out.
No,
of
they're
state,
out of
huh?
state. So
Yeah.
your instincts were right. They're in
Yeah.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was at a seminar with him. That's right. I was at a seminar with him in Baltimore about maybe 3 years ago, and he
Wow.
was and
I
he
could
was one of the
probably name
guys.
one. Gad, I'm sorry.
And he was one of the guys was telling me, was trying to talk me into doing those. They have those covers, like custom covers for the.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like
for just your shop.
yeah, like they'll have like your store on the cover, like being smashed by Godzilla or something like that, and you'll have A&S Comics or a different cover like that. Like he did a Dark Knight cover, Dark Knight Returns or something like that by Miller, and they did a special cover just for his store, and I actually bought some from him, and it's a variant. You can't order from Diamond or DC. You have to order, but you have to buy. He had to buy 1,200 copies, I think, something like that.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah. So it's got to be a comic that is going to actually
Yeah.
sell.
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
All right, we got one last one here.
All right.
Things from Another World.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one either, Pete.
Well,
That's either out of state or that's a Pete made up one.
I hate to tell you, it is a real place, and they have two.
Okay.
They've got 2 locations. Well, I mean, multiple locations in Oregon and California.
Okay, yeah, I never heard of that.
That was my
Not East
curveball.
Coast, So
Still, though, Tony, you aced this game.
excellent.
All right.
Well, Tony,
I
thank
wonder
you.
I wonder if anybody out of Teaneck and North Bergen has heard of A&S Comics.
You're right.
You can use A&S Comics next time because maybe that'll get a trick somebody else.
I
I
believe,
don't know.
yeah, just so you know, Tony, like this podcast, you're gonna be you're on the internet now. You're on Facebook, and you're gonna actually be on all different podcast things like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes.
That's a lot.
So A&S will get a little publicity.
All right.
Yeah, hopefully draw some traffic there.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah,
That'd be
could
nice.
happen,
And this is also produced through a shared universe in town, New Jersey. And a shared universe is actually owned by Ming Chen and Mike Zapsik, two of Kevin Smith's guys from
Oh, really?
J. Bob's down in Red Bank. So
Okay.
you get some exposure.
Okay.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice if we get some.
This will make up for not selling you the X-Men one.
No, nothing will make up for that, Nick. That was when you told me that story, I was like, oh man, what did we do?
Even
What
I
did we do,
cried for
Doctor?
him.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right.
Tony, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
for
you,
your
Tony. It was a lot of fun.
today.
I had a good time too. Thank you.
And again, for like all your comic needs, if you are in the New Jersey area, North Jersey, go to A&S Comics on Cedar Lane in Teaneck, or on Bergen Line Avenue in what is that called? North Bergen. Sorry, I'm so not used to North Bergen.
It's okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Tony. Take care.
What Exit Jersey Stories? I've been Nick Franco.
I'm Pete Riario.
And our guest today has been
Tony DeMarco. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Have a good one, Tony.
A&S Comics. Okay. Thank you.
Soon. Yep.